Okay, Pashas Chukas. So we have the main Meriva. So what happened? Moshe Rabbeinu went and instead of talking, he tried talking to one rock. He got mixed up. He went to the other rock. He hit the rock. He should have talked to the rock. So what happened out from there was Yan Lohim Man Tembi. So it came out that we missed out on a tremendous lesson that could have been taught to Klal Yisrael. What's Rashi say? Rashi says that when he hit it, right, he had to hit it twice because it only produced tipping, drops. Until he hit it again, until it had to come out, because he wasn't told to hit it. He was told to speak to the rock. So they would have made a kal v'chomer, that they would have said that if it works for a rock that should be able to produce water if you talk to it, certainly this is the lashon ma'asel zeh she'ein medaber ve'ein shomea. A rock doesn't hear, doesn't talk, and it's tzarich l'parnasa, it doesn't need sustenance, and it keeps the word of Hashem kal v'chomer. Anu, we would have had that, certainly we would have learned from that experience. So really, if you think about it, it was the most terrible thing that could have ever happened. It's just taka made beriva. What's so terrible? So you hit it. I mean, you see someone hitting a rock of water coming out. It's pretty impressive. I mean, you're right. It could be more impressive. Talk to it instead of hitting it. I mean, maybe they saw it already once before that they already hit a rock. They could talk to it. I mean, a greater Kiddush Hashem. Not, of course, every ounce greater Kiddush Hashem we cannot minimize. But in essence, what was lost over here from Chazal, the Kal V'chomer would have been that we certainly would have what? If you talk to us, we would certainly listen to Hashem. Instead, what's the Rambam say? Famous Rambam. Now, sometimes a person has a chiyuv to get divorced from his wife. Chazal mechayev him. He's not doing it. So, like you know, say, you give him malchus. Until he says, yeah, I want to do it. What do you mean? You're beating a guy up until he says, I want to do it? Yeah. Because what's the deep desire of the Yid? Our desire is to do the Ratzon Hashem. That's what we want. That's the innermost desire. So, problem is, the Yitzhar is obstructing us. But if you beat up, then you'll get to find that Ratzon is there. If you remove the Yitzhar, the innermost Ratzon comes out. Once a guy says Ratzani, that's really what he does want. He really wants it. Now, the Holocaust, that terrible situation, Nevada, we can't even fathom. But there are stories you keep hearing about how situations came up when people, not even from people, ended up chapping mitzvahs. There's a famous ma'aser with, I think it was the Bluzhever Rebbe with Chanukah. He made the Moshe Nefesh to light and had the barracks. And he's able to get out the brachas. Hadik Nershel Chanukah, Shas Nissim. He could say Shechiyana. It says he's looking around. And finally he gets Shechiyana out of his mouth too. People ask him, what was why can you say the Shechiyana? You already said the other two brachas. See, it's to say thank you to Hashem for living in Gehenna. What's Shechiyana? But I saw hundreds of eyes looking at me, anticipating they want to participate in the mitzvah. Many of them never did this in their own lifetime. They didn't do mitzvahs. Now they want to do a mitzvah. That's shechiyana. That's what to live for. So we find ourselves in situations that when we get hit, chas v'sholem, and finally the sword gets moved out of there, that the real Ratzon comes out. But why? If Moshe Rabbeinu would have spoke to the rock, he would have shown us that if you could speak to a rock, and the rock listens, we would say, speak to me, I listen too. We don't trust ourselves. We're not ready to do, because I hear, people get inspired to hear, oh, it's very good. Do we follow through? Not readily. Many times, we have to get beaten up until we start crying to Hashem and coming to Him. If we would have had that Kal V'chomer from the rock, we trusted ourselves more, we'd believe in ourselves more, we'd do it. In Nebuch, we lost out on that. So yeah, we'll do it if we finally get beaten, and then he comes out and do it. That's what the side that we could have had from this whole. It's devastating. That means the fact that okay, he said it. You had the drasha till it permeates, it gets into the lave. It's there. The person has it inside, but to be able to come along to have been able to accomplish that, he could have got it to Moshe Rabbeinu, would have spoke to the rock. That would the would have seen from there. You had to hit it. So you hit it, for a couple drops come out. It's going to happen. You're communicating with the rock. Eventually, it came out. But from hitting, you could have done it from speaking. That's a whole different yesod. That's Taka Moedik Kazach. That we could have learned from Moshe Rabbeinu's with the rock that we could have taken to the Hema Mei Meriva. Just one with the Kuda in the parasha also, you see that's at the end of the parasha, you see with the Oig. Chabosha, the Moshe Rabbeinu was so concerned about him again. From what? He had a schus. From where? The schus that he had from, that he came to Avram Avinu to tell him that the Loig was captured. Oh, and then what happened? The whole business that Avram went and he had the war. And everybody asked the kasha, what in the world is a schus for Oig for what? He had no intention whatsoever of Avinu coming out back alive. His whole intention was to marry Sarah. Again, it's whole arichus. It's whole arichus. Kiddush Hashem came out because what he did, even though he had no meaning for that. The schus lasted hundreds of years. Hundreds of years. Moshe Rabbeinu is still worried about the schus hundreds of years later when they have a whole Klal Yisrael going to Eretz Yisrael. It's no value. And that's a person who had in mind to be detrimental, damaging. So imagine a person has in mind to do something good. Toiv. So it has to be Hashem at least it gives us a hashara to understand what a person, when he invests to do something toiv, he must have great schus. We don't always see it. I mean, if Moshe Rabbeinu this week's part, in Kairach, when you daven, that Hashem shouldn't turn to Das Haviram Schelek in the Korban. How much of a chelik in the carbon do they have? 2/600,000th of a part of a carbon. Hashem shouldn't turn to that part of the carbon. of a oila. It's an animal burned on it. No, don't turn to that. What is there? And that's the people are doing ra. The person is doing toiv. So we would think as being so tiny. Ich bin a yid. I'm not das aviram. We have no concept of the toiv that we do. If we build ourselves and understand that we can accomplish. 10 yidden in the room say, hey, Shvei Rabbi V'vorach, Mikad Shem Shemai B'Rabbi. I always say, you can stand in front of 7 billion goyim. You can't say Kaddish. You can't do Kiddush Hashem, B'Rabbim, of the Avada, the Gimel Averis, we're talking about the Kiddush. Just a minyan to say the words, Yisrael Kadash Shmei Rabbi, Amen. I'm saying Amen. Hakadosh Baruch Hu should be glorified. Me, it says it. We have no concept what we toil in this world, in the Ilamas. But the power of who we are, what we can accomplish is Gevaldig Schuyas that Klal Yisrael lives on. I mean, the fact that we're all here, we're living on Schuyas of our grandparents, great-grandparents. The Klal Yisrael endures. That's Israel. We should be able to poilize Gevaldig Yeshuas.